Revenge films.
My name is Michelle Smith, and I live together with my husband Michael and our 5-year-old son Kevin. We're a happy family of 3. My husband works in sales for a major company, and he's earning a stable income to support us. But I had actually always enjoyed working, so even after we got married, I kept my job. I was working full-time for a makeup brand. Because both my husband and I were working full-time, we built our house close to my parents' house. That was because I wanted to support them, but I also needed their support in helping to raise Kevin, and every day they help us with our son. Kevin was in preschool, and the preschool that he was attending had a lot of children of families that were quite wealthy. That's because it was close to a luxury residential area. My family was pretty much the only one that both father and mother were working full-time, and most of the other moms were full-time housewives. And of course, because they were full-time housewives, they frequently had lunch parties amongst the other moms. But I was busy with my job, and so I wasn't able to participate in any of those lunch or tea parties. By the time I realized it, I was ostracized from the rest of the moms at the preschool. Of course, I wanted to be able to get along with them and become friends, but there weren't many opportunities for me to even meet them. I wasn't able to fit in with the rest of the moms, and time just kept ticking by. But then one day, my mother's 60th birthday was coming up, and we were all looking forward to celebrating her, so we decided to go to a high-end sushi restaurant for the birthday celebration. Because of my husband's work, he wasn't going to be able to join us, and so it was just my parents, my son, and myself. And we headed towards the sushi restaurant that was on the first floor of a big building. When we walked inside, I saw a woman that looked familiar to me, and that was a fellow mom from the preschool known as the boss mom. Her name was Karen. Karen was like the leader of all the moms at the preschool, and I had heard through the rumors that her husband was the owner and chef of a sushi restaurant. When we walked in, as soon as she saw my face, Karen said to me, "Wait a minute, aren't you Michelle? You're the one that's working full-time alongside your husband, aren't you?" The moment she said the word full-time and emphasized that word, it became clear to me that she was looking down on me, and then she continued on to say, "Don't you know that this restaurant is not the type of place where people who have to work 2 full-time jobs just to make ends meet should be coming? This is not your level of place. And those old people behind you, are they your parents? Just from looking at them, I can tell that they're poor people." And she continued firing insults at us. I looked over at the owner and chef, her husband, in hopes that he would try to stop her. However, not only did he not try to stop her, he chimed in and continued after his wife in insulting us. Her husband said,
"I don't have any sushi here to serve to peasants, so can you please leave? It's going to be a problem for us if the other wealthy customers start to question the quality of our restaurant."
When he said that, Karen raised her voice and laughed out loud. "I mean, first of all, why is there a husband and wife at our preschool that have to work full-time jobs? You're just peasants. You should go to a different preschool. You don't belong here." When Karen said that, her husband joined in.
That's right. You need to take your kid out of that preschool, and don't ever think about showing your face at this restaurant again."
And the two of them tried to kick us out of the restaurant together. But then that was when my father, who had been silent the entire time, opened his mouth for the first time.
"You're telling us to get out of here? This is the first time I've seen such a rude husband and wife as the two of you. You're the ones that are going to be getting out of here."
My father was normally a calm, kind person, and he was furious. My father had always been thoughtful of his family, and he especially cared about his wife, so I can imagine he was infuriated that his wife's birthday was about to be ruined.
"You're telling us to get out? What the hell are you saying?"
The chef had cocked his neck and yelled at my father, but then replied,
"Yeah, that's right, because I'm the owner of this building, and I'm terminating the contract with this restaurant effective immediately. You're going to be leaving this building within the week."
As soon as he said that, both Karen and her husband went silent. In reality, my father's family were actually pretty famous landowners. From generation to generation, they owned many different plots of land and buildings around the town. Because of that, my father knew a lot of people around town, and he was actually a little bit of a celebrity here. And yet those two didn't even know that and were belittling us. So for them to lose their restaurant like this, I can only say that they did it to themselves. In the beginning, Karen and her husband didn't seem to believe what my father was saying, but the moment he pulled out his business card and handed it to them, their attitude instantly changed. As if he completely flipped his tune, the husband started panicking and said to us,
I'm going to start making you the best sushi right now! Please, have a seat! Make yourselves comfortable!
He was desperately trying to fix the situation, but now that he had already angered my father, it was too late. My father simply said to Karen and her husband,
We will never be coming back to this restaurant ever again, and neither will you!
And stormed out of the restaurant. Karen's husband came chasing after us, yelling,
Please, wait a minute, please! Please forget about what just happened! I didn't mean it!
He was begging, but my father completely ignored them and we walked out. And then we went straight to one of our regular restaurants and celebrated my mother's 60th birthday there. The next day, my father immediately contacted the management company for that building, and he instructed them to kick Karen and her husband out of that building. After this incident, I had already become strongly averse to Karen, but little did I know that I was going to receive even more awful treatment. On parent observation day at the preschool, I took the day off work and went to the preschool. But the group of moms that were led by Karen, as soon as they saw my face, I saw them start whispering amongst each other. When I tried to greet them, "Hi, everybody," Karen then said out loud, "What nerve do you have to come here today?" Those were her first words, and then in a loud voice she said, "This woman wrote a horrible review and spread awful lies and rumors about my husband's restaurant, and she forced us to have to close the restaurant because of her." I couldn't believe it. That's not true at all. I would never do such a thing. Even though I was desperately trying to defend myself, none of the other moms believed me, and then a lot of the other moms started saying to me, "That's horrible. Let's make sure that we never go anywhere near that woman." They were all bashing me. I didn't know why I had to be treated like this when I didn't do anything wrong, and I felt like I was going to start crying. But then, right at that moment, the group of moms from the older preschool class walked over to us and they turned to Karen and said, "Oh, please, I'm the one who wrote those reviews anyway." Karen looked shocked and she couldn't say anything except for, "Wait, what?" According to the mom from the older preschool class, she once went to Karen's husband's restaurant in the past, and she said that she was met with the same treatment that my family and I were met with. She was told, "There's no sushi here to make for peasants like you." And she became furious, so she went online and posted a review of exactly what they said to her, and the other moms who had heard about that incident started chiming in and saying, "The same thing happened to me there." And little by little, Karen was cornered. She looked awkward as she was trying to come up with excuses, but thanks to all of the other moms reciting their similar experiences, my story was also cleared. And then Karen was left in a bad place, and all of the other moms who had been following her until then distanced themselves from her in an instant. Because she had been the boss mom up until then and had said and done whatever she wanted, there were a lot of people within the mom group that started saying they never actually liked her very much, and Karen's standing did a 180. She was the one left all alone now. On top of that, Karen's son had picked up her bad habits and was calling other kids peasants and hitting them around the school, and it came to light that he was also breaking his friends' toys and causing a lot of problems in school. Karen's whole family no longer had a place in the preschool, but then one more incident happened that would be the final nail in the coffin. After Karen's husband was kicked out of the building owned by my father, he tried to look for another location to open his restaurant. But because my father was quite famous in this town, and people heard the rumors that he did such a rude thing to him, he was continually rejected from locations. And he was unable to secure a location for his new restaurant, and time kept passing by. During that time, of course, their family had no income, and even though their family was living in a large mansion, they were no longer able to pay the loan on it, and they were left with no choice but to let go of their giant house. It turns out that Karen had chosen to marry her husband because she was always after his money, and as soon as her life became a little bit difficult, she left her husband and took her son with her. However, after she left, Karen had been a full-time housewife for years and had a long blank on her resume. She also didn't have any certifications or experience that would be useful towards a job. She wasn't able to find work, and in the end, she realized that she wasn't going to be able to raise her son by herself. As for her husband, he was no longer able to own his own restaurant, and he had to start working part-time at a cheap sushi restaurant. His income had become less than half of what it was before, and I heard that he's only able to pay $100 a month for child support fees. In the end, Karen wasn't able to support herself or her son, and so she chose to move back in with her husband. I heard that the three of them are now living in a tiny apartment together, struggling to get by. Of course, they ended up having to change preschools, and they quickly disappeared without telling anybody where they were going. According to the rumors, Karen started working part-time at a convenience store, and now that she and her husband are both working long hours every week to make ends meet, even though she had made fun of me so much for being a working wife, now that she has to work, I hope that maybe she has a little bit of regret over how she treated me. According to my father, after making so many customers and my father their enemy, Karen and her husband will never be able to open up a restaurant in this town again. But honestly, they did this all to themselves. There's nothing more to say. As for me, now that the boss mom was gone, I was finally able to approach the other moms and have become friends with them. There are no people anymore that make fun of me for having a full-time job, so I feel a lot better. As soon as Karen was gone, all of the moms that were friends with her said the same thing, that they never actually liked her, and they all apologized to me. There was a part of me that felt like it was a little bit too convenient for them, but I think I'm going to be able to be friends with some of them for a long time, so I hope I can continue to build a friendship with them. For the record, in the location where Karen and her husband used to have the sushi restaurant, a new sushi restaurant opened up, and the owner of that restaurant is very warm and welcoming, and I heard that my father, that he seems like a very kind person, so in order to redo my mother's 60th birthday celebration, we're planning to go and eat there soon. I'm sure it's going to be a much better experience than the last time.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.